So you've got your sewing machine, you've got all the tools that you need to start out with. Now what? So in this video, I'm going to share with you the process of the sewing project from the beginning all the way to the end. So gathering all your tools and things is a task in itself. I know it's overwhelming to figure out what you need and what you don't need at the moment and to actually pay and get everything. But you got your machine and all these tools to actually learn how to sew and to actually sew something. So what is the process of that? What does that look like? Today we're going to go through the 9 steps it'll take for you to think of your project to finish it. Step number 1 is choosing your project. What is going to be the first thing you're going to sew? To choose your project, you have to find some inspiration. You can tap into Pinterest, look up outfit ideas. You can tap into Instagram, look up outfit ideas. Same with TikTok, same with just the general internet, okay? You want to look for something that inspires you, that you want to create, that may kind of feel a little easy or simple when you're doing it. You won't have that knowledge right now because this is the first project you're doing, but think small amount of seams. Think very easy. In my strategy video of what I would do if I were learning to sew in 2025, I had you make a list of things that you want to sew or things that you're interested in sewing. So you can tap into that list and figure out what would be the best to start out with. If you haven't, and this is the first video you're watching of mine, hey, hello, what's up? My name is Delea. I'm a designer and a sewist, and I help sewists get confidence in their sewing through personalizing their own wardrobe. So if this is all interesting to you and you want to dive deeper, tap in and subscribe to the channel. Step 2 is you're going to choose your sewing pattern. You're going to scour the interwebs to find a sewing pattern similar or even exact, if you can, of the object that you want to make. You're going to scour the interwebs to find a sewing pattern that you can buy. When you learn more, you can make your own, but for purposes of this, we're going to buy a pattern, okay? So you can look on Simplicity, see the patterns that they have to offer. There's like a bunch of brands underneath Simplicity that you can tap into. You're trying to find a sewing pattern that's very close, if not exact, to the project that you want to make. You can tap into indie patterns. You can do this by starting off with Google, search the name of the pattern. So in this example, we're using bucket hat. I'm going to Google bucket hat sewing patterns, and this is going to give me options, both of the big 5 and indie patterns. And the reason why I say Google indie patterns is because 1, you don't know their name, so it's not like you can just pull up to their Instagram account. And 2, yes, you can search on Instagram for the indie patterns, but I don't know the results that it would give you or how strong the results would be. So Google is going to be your faster way to start diving in. If you're finding this video helpful, go on and subscribe to the channel. My name is Delea. I'm a designer and a sewist, and I create videos on sewing tutorials, pattern reviews, and design vlogs that'll help inspire you and encourage you on your own sewing journey as you customize your own style. So if this is all interesting to you and you want to dive deeper, tap in and subscribe to the channel. Step 3 is you're going to buy the fabric and the notions. How do you know what fabric to buy? How do you know what notions to buy? What are notions? Okay, I got you. Hold on. So notions and trim are going to be the extra things that you need to buy to complete your project. That includes zippers, buttons, snaps, clasps, bias tape, anything like that. And as for fabric, you're going to know the type of the fabric you need to buy and how much you need to buy by looking on the back of your sewing pattern. There is usually a chart that is broken down by size on how much fabric you would need based on the size you intend to make, okay? If you don't know what size you need to make or intend to make, you're going to measure yourself. You're going to measure your bust, your waist, and your hips, okay? That is the 3 basic measurements you need to choose a pattern. You're going to take that information, and based on that, you're going to choose which one is right for you. Which one will your body fit into? Hint, you're going to want to check the finished garment measurement because that is how the garment will fit across your body, okay? And let's be real, we want to make sure it fits. And that is how you figure out how much yardage to buy. So by checking the back of the pattern, measuring yourself, and then using those results to decide on a column that you want to buy. For me, my column is usually in the 20s to 22 area. So now you know how much fabric to buy. You're going to go to a place that sells fabric. Now, you can do this in person at a store like Joann or Hobby Lobby. You go in, find the type of fabric you need. You know what type of fabric you need because you've looked on the back of the pattern and it says you can choose this type of fabric, this type of fabric, and this type of fabric. You're going to go in there with that knowledge and look for that type of fabric, that type of fabric, that type of fabric, okay? Once you get it, you find the color that you want, the way that you want, you are going to go to a cutting table. Usually an employee is there cutting fabric for other people. When it's your turn, you're going to hand the bolt over and you're going to say, hello, because you greet them first. You're going to say, hello, may I have such and such amount of yards? You know how many yards you need because you did that math already. So you tell them how many yards you need, and then they will cut you such and such amount of yards. Joann's will give you a ticket or a little receipt that you take up to the front to pay. I don't know what the other stores do, but they will give you something or let you know how much it costs. You're going to take your fabric and your notions, also notions thread. You're going to want to buy thread that matches. So once you have your fabric, buy your thread, your buttons, zippers, whatever, what have you, whatever you need for this project, you're going to go to the front and pay for it. And that's how you buy fabric. If you're shopping online at an indie place, or maybe you're shopping at Mood Fabrics, something like that, you're going to choose the fabric you want, paying attention to the type of fabric, and then you're going to say how many yards you need, as if you're selecting how many items. Sometimes the online retailers will require you to buy at least 1 yard because it makes it worth it for them. So if that's the case, and like say you're making a bucket hat and you don't need 1 yard, you may want to reconsider, is this the best option? Or you just go ham and go for the yard and figure out something else to do with the rest of the fabric, honestly. You choose your amount of yardage, you'll put in your order and they'll ship it to you. Easy peasy. Don't forget your thread, okay? I like the way Mood does it. I like Mood because Mood obviously carries threads, and they recommend the thread to buy and the zippers to buy based on the color fabric that you're using. So I think that's very helpful that they do that. Step 4, we are preparing our fabric and our pattern. I am lumping these two together because it's going to throw off my numbers if I don't. After you buy your fabric, you're going to want to wash it. You're going to want to throw it in the sewing. No, you're not. You're not throwing it in the sewing machine. After you buy your fabric, you're going to want to wash it, okay? When you wash it, this essentially pre-shrinks it. That's what it's called in the industry. You pre-shrink your fabric, so after you sew it, it won't shrink, right? So if you're sewing, spending so much time, and you put it on and it fits, great, love it. What happens when you wash it afterwards and it shrinks? Because usually fabrics shrink after the first wash. When you pre-wash it, that kind of helps eliminate that mistake or possibility of that happening. You pre-wash it, it's already shrunk the most it's going to shrink, and then you cut from that fabric and sew, instead of cutting from a fabric that is still going to shrink after you wash it, okay? Now, as for preparing the pattern, if you bought a store-bought envelope, you're going to want to take it out and you're going to cut the pattern pieces that are in your size, okay? Use paper, scissors, cut it. If you bought an online pattern or a PDF pattern, you're going to print that pattern out. You're going to follow their instructions on how to put it together. But essentially, you're going to cut off some excess paper, tape it together, and then cut out the pattern in your size, okay? So both those steps take prep work, but it's very necessary for the sewing project, okay? Step 5 is you're going to cut out your fabric, okay? So now that you have your patterns prepped, your fabric is prepped, you're going to lay your pattern out on the fabric, following what the pattern instructions say. They're going to give you a suggestion on how you should lay your fabric out to use up less fabric. Now, you can follow it. I suggest you follow it, or you cannot, which I rarely ever do. So, personal choice, that's fine. But you're going to lay out the fabric. Pay attention to see if some of them are cut on the fold, if you need 2 of some, or multiples, if you need some patterns in different fabrications, right? So sometimes it may ask for an interfacing that you may need. So you're going to pay attention to what you need to cut out. Lay it out, cut around it. Fabric 1, if you have more than 1 fabric, you're going to lay out the second fabric, cut the pieces out you need from that. If you have a third fabric, you're going to lay that out, lay the patterns out, and cut what you need from that, okay? You're going to keep cutting out fabric until all the pieces that you have been cut out. 6, you're going to prepare your pieces, all right? For me, that means you're going to mark any notches, any marks, any dart points that you need to see on your cut pieces, okay? So you're going to take a pen or a pencil or maybe even a little scissor snippy snip. You're going to cut that notch out very small. Do not cut through too much until you get to the seam allowance. Do not cut to the seam allowance because you risk messing up the project altogether and having a hole in it when you're done. So just a very small snip, or even mark it with a pencil. I like to do that. Just do a little pencil mark and you're good to go. You can use tailor's chalk, you can use regular chalk, whatever, what have you. Make the mark so it doesn't get lost while you're sewing. Also in this step, you're going to add any iron-on interfacing. you're going to iron the interfacing onto the pattern piece to help it get its structure. If your pattern does not call for interfacing, that's completely fine. Maybe it calls for some handwork, some stitch work, some basting before you get into the main sewing, okay? So again, look at the instructions, see what it needs from you. Step 7 is you're going to do some test stitches, okay? You got everything cut out, you've got everything prepared, now you're ready to sew. But we don't just dive right into sewing, okay? We have to test our stitches. So you're gonna get your sewing machine, you're gonna get a scrap piece of the fabric that you cut, you're gonna fold it, layer it up, 2 layers, and you're gonna do just a straight stitch through the machine. You're gonna take it off the machine and you're going to examine the stitch, okay? You're going to see if it looks good on the top and the bottom. If it looks good on the top and the bottom, you're going to continue. You're going to start your sewing. If it does not look good, if stitches on the top are loose, stitches on the bottom are skipping, things like that, if it's not a very straight, very nice looking, very demure, if it's not a very nice looking stitch, you are going to alter the settings on your sewing machine. Now, that may mean you have to tighten your tension, loosen your tension, change your stitch length, rethread your bobbin, something of those natures. Once you do that and reconfigure your machine, you're gonna do another test stitch, okay? Just do it parallel to the last one you did. We're not making it perfect. We're not trying to line anything up. You're just doing the test stitch, all right? You're going to take it off the machine. You're going to examine your second test stitch. If your test stitch is good on the top and the bottom, you're going to proceed. If it's not, you're going to continue to alter whatever you need on the machine, do a test stitch, check the top and the bottom, okay? You're going to do that until you have a good stitch, all right? The purpose of doing test stitches is to make sure, 1, the quality of your stitches are good. We don't want any ugliness inside or outside of our garment, okay? And number 2 is you want to make sure that your stitches are good quality so they last longer. If your stitches are too loose, they can be easily torn. If they're too tight, they can be easily torn. So we want a just right stitch so your garment can stand up to being worn and functionality and all that jazz. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I'm saying adjusting your machine, adjusting the tension, and adjusting the bobbin, all of that, I'm going to recommend you enroll in the Sew Your Style Masterclass. It is a virtual sewing class that I offer that lasts 13 weeks, and it'll help you on your sewing journey. It'll help you learn the basics in vocabulary, the basics in technique, the basics in sewing, so you can sew the rest of your sewing projects with confidence. So yes, we will talk about tension and how to set your machine for good stitches. We'll also talk about installing buttonholes. We'll talk about darts, hems, and other important information that you should know when you're learning to sew. And yes, you can easily Google all this information. You can go to Google right now and ask, what is a tension? Look it up on YouTube, yada, yada. Or you can save time and honestly the overwhelm and enroll in the course, because all that information will be right there for you in the course of 13 weeks. You'll also get live classes with me each week so we can meet up. And if you have any questions about what you've learned, you can ask me in person, virtually, and we can cover it right then and there. So you're not left with figuring out stuff on your own like you would be on YouTube. So if this is something you're interested in and you're really, really trying to learn how to sew in 2025, go on, take the time, click the link in the description and enroll today. Now, for step 8, we're still on this journey. For step 8, you are going to sew. You've tested your stitches, everything is cut out. Now it's time for you to actually get to sewing. You're going to follow the instructions in the pattern, step by step by step by step, rereading it 2 or 3 times if you have to understand what they're saying, all right? You are going to sew the garment, sew the project. This can be really easy or it can be a little complicated, okay? You can take a day or you can take a couple days. The timing of how long it takes you to sew does not matter, okay? Because remember, we are creating experiences. We want to enjoy this. This is a hobby, so that means we do not have to sprint through it. We do not have to follow anybody else's timelines, right? Because it's our project. We want to enjoy it. So however long it takes you, you're going to sew this project. As for us, we are going to sew this bucket hat, okay? Now, I will say the bucket hat is pretty easy. You can probably do this in a day or 2 if you focus. If not, that is completely fine also, okay? Do whatever works and feels right for you. And step 9 is you are going to celebrate your win and wear your finished piece. I put this in a step because sometimes we do not make it to the step, and that is okay. Sometimes projects get lost along the way, but if you make it to step 9, You need to celebrate your win, celebrate the work that you put into it, and also wear it. Oftentimes, we think that what we've sewn is such a work of art and we want to preserve it and just look at it as if it's in a museum. No, we're not doing that, okay? You spent time working on this for you to wear, so you are going to wear it, okay? Figure out how to style it, figure out what it goes with, make it a regular rotationable item in your closet, and wear it. You did that, okay? You did that. Go on and get your compliments, girl, guy. Put it on, love it, live in it, and enjoy yourself, okay? This is why you learn how to sew, so you can put it on. And with that, we've gone through the whole process of a sewing project from start to finish. From project idea, to gathering your materials, to prepping your materials, to finishing, okay? That is the full process of a sewing project. Now, you can use this on any type of sewing project that you want, any other ideas that come to your mind that you want to make. These are the steps you'll take, okay? As you get more involved and more confidence in your sewing journey, these steps may change a little bit. They may branch out into deeper levels, like if you want to manipulate a pattern or embellish your fabric, things like that. You may add a step here or a step there, which is fine. That's what this process is all about. But these steps 1 through 9 is your basic general guide of how to get through any project. And you'll just make it your own with the more you add to it. Thank you for joining me in today's video. If you found these tips helpful, go on and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any other videos. Again, we're talking sewing tutorials, pattern reviews, and design vlogs. So if any of those light you up, please subscribe to the channel and meet me back here next week. If you're actually ready to learn how to sew and you plan on following through with your 2025 resolution of learning how to sew, tap into the description below and click the link, or go to courses.deleabriscoe.com and you can enroll and sew your style today. There's a very easy masterclass that is 13 weeks and we take you from beginning sewing, learning all the basics and techniques that you will need on basically almost any pattern, and you can learn that with confidence. And at the end of each week, come into a virtual class with me so we can talk through any issues that you're having, okay? So both of those are found in the description box. Thank you for joining me this week. Until next time, guys, keep designing your best life. Bye.